Dr. Margaret Odell is a professor at a seminary, and she wrote a small introduction. I mean, she wrote a big introduction, but I'm going to read a small piece. So here it is. She says, as I read Micah chapter 5, verses 2 to 5, the Christmas carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem, comes to my mind. The lyrics, written by Phillips Brooks in 1868, were inspired by his nighttime visit on horseback in 1865 to the village of Bethlehem. Although the poem draws primarily on Luke's story of Jesus' birth and Brooks' own experience, it also resonates with Micah chapter 2, verses 2 to 5. A birth in Bethlehem, the hopes and fears of all the years, and the joyful proclamation of peace to all the earth, all have their roots in this lectionary reading. End of quote. I think that's a good introduction, isn't it? In the world today, even as I speak, there are a lot more fear, right, than hope. Yeah, there are a lot more fear than hope. Omicron has now been detected in 89 countries. That is according to BBC. And the infection cases are doubling. French health department says it is spreading at lightning speed. That's a quote. Spreading in lightning speed. In the U.S. today, there are 121,707 Delta new cases every single day. How about that? 1,286 deaths every single day in the U.S. There are 68,847 patients in the ICU in this country. These are not just number and statistics. These are somebody's sons and daughters, somebody's spouses, and some who are no longer with us. And so these are real things. And so even in the midst of trying to be hopeful, peaceful, joyful, and might have much love, we are still restlessly waiting how this Christmas in the next couple days will turn out to be, right? So these are just facts, and we cannot deny it. So I don't want us to allow these news to crumble our faith and to let this news steal away the peace and joy and love that we have been building for the last 4 Sundays. Are you with me? Yeah. There is so much of that, and so I want us to remain strong. Now, why do I say that? I want to now make a little shift and imagine what is going on with Micah. Micah is presenting something similar to what is going on today. This few verses is loaded with a lot for us to historically ponder the reality he is facing. And so Micah was an 8th century BCE, before Common Era prophet. During the reigns of kings Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. 3 kings. During this time, Israel and Judah was in political turmoil. Assyrian is invading them. In fact, they had already taken Samaria. They've invaded Samaria already. During the king of Hezekiah, King Sennacherib carried several military campaigns or expeditions. So you see, Micah is dealing with a very difficult political climate. In the midst of this turmoil, somehow Judah's economy was doing better. Economy was growing and expanding. But we know through experience, when economy is doing better, there are other social ills that comes into play, right? So in the midst of all this political turmoils, economy is good, but economy, prosperity brings in some unintended social ills in making the people sick because there was rampant corruption. Rampant corruption and hypocrisy that came into being. And so God calls Micah to speak the word. Speak truth to power so that maybe they will listen to God. But somebody had to put their neck to speak, and Micah was it. Are you still with me? Oh man, I tell you, I get excited. So prophet Isaiah is indicting God's people for their religiosity without an ounce of spirituality. Right? That's my word. In chapter 2, verses 1 to 5, I'm going to let you hear what is going on. The prophet says, "What sorrow awaits you to lie awake at night, thinking up evil plans? You rise at dawn in hurry to carry them out, simply because you have the power to do so. When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family inheritance. But it is what the Lord says: I will reward your evil with evil You won't be able to pull your neck out of the noose. You will no longer walk around proudly, for it will be a terrible time. In that day, your enemy will make fun of you by singing the song of despair about you. We are finished completely. We are ruined. God has confiscated our land, taking it from us. He has given our field to those who betrayed us. Others will set your boundaries then, and the Lord's people will have no say in how the land is divided. Boy, those are very courageous words of Micah. Yeah. Micah is really telling them to see what they are really doing. But that's not the end. In chapter 3, verses 9 to 12, Micah speaks again. Leaders of Jacob and the leaders of Israel are leaders contemptuous of justice, who twist and distort right living. Leaders who build Zion by killing people, who expand Jerusalem by committing crimes. Judges sell verdicts to the highest bidder. Priests mass market their teaching. Prophets preach of high fees. And the while posturing and pretending dependence on God. We have God on our side. He'll protect us from disaster. Because the people like you, Zion, will be turned back into farmland. Jerusalem end up as a pile of rubble. And instead of temple on the mountain, a few scraggly scrap pieces. End of quote from the Message translation. Yeah. It was not a good time. Leaders were not feeling guilty about stealing, about taking things away. It's almost like somebody breaking into your house and taking whatever you have, your precious stuff, and thanking God. Right? Thanking God for giving me opportunity to steal something away. That is what is happening in this passage. And Micah is saying, how can you? How can you? You know. He's trying to contesticize. Is that the right word? I think there's a word like that, but I'm not saying it right. But he is trying to ask them, question them, to reassess where they stood with God. Justice and peace and love is not just beautiful words, to hang something. But it is about making the realizations and letting it flow this 18 inches and have it come and settled here and become a reality. A lived reality, not philosophical reality, but a lived reality. Does it make sense? So you see, Micah is really, really struggling to make sense to the people. And so Micah is saying, God is not sending millions of angels of God with flaming arrows and swords to kill the sinners. In some religious tradition, their God comes to kill sinners. But in our text today, God is sending love. Yeah? God is sending love. God is sending his ultimate best for the world, his own son, with love. How about that? Yeah, that's what this is. Love is coming to redeem us. The Gospel of John makes it very clear. The Gospel of John chapter 3, verse 17 says, "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him." That is what the gospel is. That is what Christmas is. Right? That's what it is. It is God coming to us with love to redeem us. No matter where you have gone wrong, not living in the past, but living in the present and praying for the future. That's how I try to live. Not always successful, but philosophically, that's where my trajectory is. Because I cannot change anything what happened yesterday. But I can change today. And I am hoping tomorrow will be better. That is the kind of spirituality I try to live by. And I think that is what the gospel is. Because nothing can bring life into its holistic existence. It is not material possessions and powers and celebrity status and all the other things that the world promises. But if this is empty, everything is nothing. Right? Yeah. And so this God comes. Not to dwell on things, but to dwell within us. When God comes and dwells in us, just like the Revelation talks about, I stand at the door and knock. If anybody hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and I will have some nice dinner with you. I'm going to wine and dine with you and we're going to have a good time. You see, I think I like that better than trying to compete with the Jones next door. Love. I want us to have love. And so Micah says, from the ancient city, this will come. This will happen in the ancient city. You know what the ancient city is? It's Bethlehem. Yeah. Ancient city that Micah is talking about is from 2 Samuel 17, where David's father was Jesse, and Jesse had 8 sons, and David was one of them, right? And Jesus is what do we call it? Grandpa? Great grandpa? Right? And so Prophet Micah is saying, the good news for the world is coming to us from the ancient city of Bethlehem. Oh, little town of Bethlehem. That's what it is. God has not forgotten us. It's almost like There is sun, but on a cloudy day, we don't see the sun. Cloud might tell us there is no sun because you don't see it. You don't feel it. It is just blocked for a while. But the sun is still up there. As soon as the cloud disappears, sun will come and shine on you. That is what prophet is saying. For now, you're in trouble. You're in pain. You may experience some insecurity. You may be frustrated. You may feel like you might want to give it up. And I think for the last 2 years, we have all gone through that different stages of frustrations. But God is saying, I am bringing you love. I am bringing you hope. I'm bringing you peace. I'm bringing you joy. That's what Christmas is. Take love with you and let that love dwell in you. Without that, there will be no magic in your Christmas celebration. Take magic, God's magic, love with you today, because I may not see you for a while. Do that. Okay? God bless us.